Hi, all my beautiful souls. I am Lady Stars and Fire. My real name is Michelle Espinosa, and this is the weekly healing messages for October 22nd through the 29th. Sorry, checking my notes. I want to apologize for anybody who does watch the videos every week. I am sorry I'm getting it out late. I am on vacation. Sorry. That's the way it goes. I'm on vacation, and I'm getting ready to go to Salem, Massachusetts for the weekend prior to Halloween so we can enjoy one of my girlfriend's birthdays. So I'm a little bit behind, so forgive me. But with that being said, I am going to get into this week's guidance, and I'm going to give you the rune cast. I'm going to give you a little bit of information that I am being given by Spirit, and then I'll get into astrology. This week is a very healing week, is what I'm being given. But before I do that, I want to remind everybody, please, if you have never heard of it before, please tune in to my new radio show called Otherland Dreams. It's on fxbgpublicradio.com, and we have the show every single Tuesday night at 10 o'clock at night. But you can go on to any place you get your podcast and go back and watch it at any given time, the latest show or any shows, if you don't catch it live. So please tune in to Otherland Dreams, because this week we're going to be speaking about protection. Because we're talking about coming closer to Halloween. With that being said, let me jump into this week's healing messages. Like I said, this is a very healing week. I am being told by Spirit this week has a lot to do with finding inner peace, or finding out what the meaning of finding out what inner peace is, and how we start to truly come into a higher level of soulfulness here in our heart, of love here in our heart. Because if we are making it through this week's energy properly, and we're getting what's being given from the cosmos, from Spirit, and everything else that I'm being given, this is a week of deep inner nourishment, but deeper inner nourishment that will help us move forward and evolve in a more positive way within our life. But this has to do with starting to come to truly understand and work with inner peace within our life, and helping us with understanding on a higher level of what love really, really is. I don't mean love in a relationship. I mean, the only thing that's important really is love. And if you're getting on that level, then we're going in the right direction. Now, with that being said, we are given Induus this week. We are given Win, and we are given Jebo as far as runes. I do not have them in front of me, so I'm just going to give you a rundown of what it is. But you can always go back and check me out on Facebook, on my page, or any of my pages. And I usually put, the Facebook, I put on Facebook what the runecast was, so you can always go back and check. This week, Induus is the number one, because it kind of goes in full circle around to Induus again. Induus is reminding us that what is important is our inner nourishment. And it is reminding us that this is a moment of necessary stasis to go inward for inner focus, for that inner nourishment. But we must understand that the inner nourishment comes from our four, and having those four in balance. And when those four are not in balance, well then, honey, neither are we. Point blank. And this is our emotional, our mental, our spiritual, and our physical. If we are giving extra love and attention to one area and not the other when they need to be in balance, then we are out of balance. And this has to do with how we properly take care of ourselves. Because if we're not taking care of ourselves properly, soulfully, is emotionally, mentally, spiritually, and physically. So if all four are not in balance, then we're not in balance well enough to help bring good to the world around us either. Point blank. Now, with that being said, we are given Win this week, which speaks to us of understanding a higher level of the principle of manifestation itself. It's speaking to us of coming into understanding, gaining, and how do we get the joy, the wish, and the very perfection of what it is that we're trying to create within our life. It speaks to us of social expectations of ourselves, as well as what we wish to get socially. Social perfection. How do we get to social perfection? Well, we have to learn to be socially better, don't we? Point blank. This has to do with mastery of the external of our interactions externally with others. So this does have to do with the world around us and that communication. But within that and how we view it is how we create our manifestation within those dimensional energies as well, bringing us to Jebo. Jebo is the gift, honey. Jebo is the gift and the gifting price and the obligations that go with that. Being married has obligations. There are obligations that must be held when you're in a marriage, basically, if you want to look at it from that point of view. And I use that because a lot of people will call Jebo the marriage, and I strongly disagree with that. And I disagree with it because the angel of death is the one who actually has done most of the communication with Jebo to me directly. Because the best way of explaining Jebo is it has to do with giving and receiving. It has to do with giving graciously, receiving graciously. It also speaks to us of if we're feeling victimized, something in the Jebo energy is not right. We're not getting it right. We're not doing it right. Remember, the first and foremost, most important thing, like I said, is love. But in order to experience love, you have to be alive. And life is a gift. No matter how crappy it might be, you have the ability to make your own manifestation. So no matter how good it is or how bad it is, what it is that's happened in your life, part of it you are responsible for. And gift of life itself is a gift that you should receive graciously, so that you can then move forward into all of the other gifting prices and their obligations. When you look at it from a more gracious, more thankful way, and you give just as much as you take in the balance, things will go into a better natural flow. And if they're not in that natural flow, then we're right back up into when, and your principle of manifestation is not working properly. And then we back right back up into the fact that it's not working properly also because we have a problem with our with our induus, which is our emotional, our mental, our spiritual, and our physical. This all has to do with balance, baby. This all has to do with inner nourishment this week. Now, with that being said, as we move into this week, again, this is for the 22nd through the 29th, and I apologize that I'm getting it out late because I'm being lazy and I'm on vacation. Sorry. The sun moves into Scorpio on the 23rd, making Scorpio even more powerful of a sign right now. But it is the universal 8th house. And no matter where it is in your own personal chart, you're still going to be feeling the energies of that universal 8th house. Okay? Because that's universally where it stands. And the universal 8th house is relationships and what is responsible. What are the responsibilities within those relationships? This has to do with childcare. This has to do with sexual energy within a relationship. This has to do with taxes. This has to do with bills, paying the rent, paying the car payment. This has to do with everything that you have a relationship with. Has responsibilities to it. Car. If you don't put gas in the car, it ain't going anywhere. You have anything you care about, you have a relationship with. You know about your relationship with money when you have no money. You know all about your relationship with not having a vehicle when you have no vehicle. Anything that you care about, you have a relationship with. We're talking about the responsibilities that go with those relationships. That is that universal 8th house. And how can we recreate it so that it works better for us over and over and over again? Because Scorpio is all about fertility, all about birth, death, and rebirth, as well as it's all about the mystery of life itself. It's also the detective of life itself. It's the only energy that has these energies, and it's ruled by Pluto. So it's ruled by that change, that transformational energy itself. You've got the sun now in there, which is your illumination. How are you shining? How is it you're being viewed for shining, properly or not? What are you illuminating within your life? This is what the sun is going to be bringing into Scorpio now. You have Venus, which is in retrograde, still in Scorpio. And remember, I've been telling you all, that Scorpio is bringing with it some really old past energies from something from 6 to 8 years ago. Within the last month, most likely has popped back up into your life in some way, shape, or form of a person, place, or thing. From 6 to 8 years ago is probably returned in your life because of this Venus retrograde. And I promise you, if it's returned 6 to 8 years ago, it is not a redo. It is learn from the mistake or the mishap or the what didn't quite pan out the way you'd hoped it would from that 6 to 8 years ago, because there's a lesson there to not screw up your now. This is why that 6 to 8 year ago is returning. And if you're older like me, then you're also receiving a message from something from 1982 to 1988, but Spirit tells me over and over again it has something to do with 1986 more than anything. But that might also be because for me, it's the 1986. So anyway, I am being told something, again, person, place, or thing, is returning to your life to remind you of what was changed in 1982 to 88. Or possibly directly 1986. And I am being given, this had to do with the transformational energy that took place then, because of the way that Pluto was actually moving through the signs at that time. There was a death that took place. Some kind of form of death ended in your life, so something new had to start and be born within your life. A perfect example, a friend of mine had, a grandparent who died while they were still young in 1986. So all the nurturing that they might have received from that person was no longer there to give them that nurturing. So their views started to change because they didn't have that nourishment there to help them as they moved forward in life. This has everything to do from 1982 to 1988, but again, I'm being told 1986 mainly, is that there is something that took place with a transformational change, like a death of one thing and a birth of another. And in that changing, something kind of didn't quite pan out right in the way we will now view things, the way we will now, view things and react of things. There, something because of that had to do with Venus's retrograde at that time. Also, it might have served you then, but it doesn't serve you now. And it's time to change the way we view things, the way we do these. So it's time to retweak those areas and make it better, basically. And we're going to be noticing that those energies are going to be popping up to remind us where that retweaking needs to be taking place. That all has to do with Venus retrograde and is being magnified by Jupiter and Scorpio. Jupiter is the abundance. Jupiter is the magnet. Jupiter is the higher knowledge that's going to slap you with it. So this is really a very positive time, a positive transformational change, even if it's touching sensitivities that are very uncomfortable. But if it's doing that, it's because it's doing its job. It's making you dig in deep. Dig in deeper than you normally do and really start to grab a hold of these energies and shift them and change them, because you've got to learn through them so you can evolve and move forward. Okay, and Mercury is making us have that communication with the outer world. Now, with all that being said, that's just your universal 8th house right now of Scorpio. You have the full moon coming in this week on the 24th, which is Wednesday. It is in a void, of course, to Taurus, but it does take place at technically, the void, of course, takes place at 10:33 a.m. So you may still feel some energies from Aries coming through this Taurus full moon. And Aries gives us that me. It's all about me, fire, I'm ready to get started, but I kind of get bored really easy energy. And when we're dealing with the moon in Aries, but we're moving it from that energy and into Taurus. So Taurus is all about the luxury. What do I need to feel good about life? What do I need to make me feel good about life? I like my this, or I like my that, and this makes me feel more sexually calm and collective and sensual all at the same time. It makes me feel good about myself. I don't really want to change. I like things the way they are. I'm really comfortable with it. And that can be good, because that is the bull. The bull is, Taurus can be very patient because it's going to really stick to its ground. However, the bull could be bullheaded for the wrong freaking reasons, okay? We are talking about the bull. That's what Taurus is. You could be bullheaded for the right reasons if you're doing it soulfully. But if you're doing it egotistically, that might go back against you. And remember, the full moon is all about releasing what no longer serves you. Okay, so this is really a powerful energy that is working with this healing energy that we're getting this week. Because Spirit tells me point blank that every single thing is pointing directly to the number one important thing this week, which is not Scorpio directly. It's in this list. But I am being told by Spirit everything goes to Chiron. Chiron is the wounded healer. Point blank. Everything that's important this week has to do with Chiron, the wounded healer and the gatekeeper of wholeness. And he just recently stepped back into the universal 12th house. The 12th house is what we're in denial about and what needs healing so that we can start a new cycle. He just stepped back into this area, going closer to Neptune and Pisces, meaning we're going back to a more soulful place. But a soulful place that we're in denial about. It's a very spiritual place, soulfully connected to how we create. Okay? And the gatekeeper of wholeness is swooping back in here going, I've been looking at things for the last couple months in Aries, and I've been seeing where we're wanting to go. But I'm seeing where this ain't going to work. So I'm going to take a step back and I'm going to reevaluate it. We're going to clean up some of these areas, and then we're going to move forward and we're going to start the new cycle again. And this is an energy you need. This is an energy that will help you move forward. So you really want to rejoice in the fact that these energies are coming in. You want to be thankful for them. You want to be gracious enough to say thank you for Spirit for helping you as you move forward. Because this is a healing energy that's going to be able to move you forward as long as you're soulfully connected. Now, with that being said, I am being told by Spirit this week has everything to do with Chiron, Scorpio, and Saturn. Okay? Chiron is in a grand trine with Uranus and with Saturn this week. So our independence, our individuality, our uniqueness, our freedom, our self-worth, our self-value, our self-esteem, which is still in that universal house, that first house of Aries, which is where we get the fire to start the new projects. Okay? It is speaking directly with weird. It's speaking with, okay, it's actually not a trine. It's the way I wrote it to myself. I apologize. Spirit is telling me to put these energies together because most people are not going to see this in astrology. This is why I say I'm the clairvoyant astrologer. It has to do with my shamanic work. They will move the lines around and the aspects around, and they will tell me, no, this is what I want you to see this week, and this is what I want you to talk about. And this is one of those weeks that I'm actually getting told that. Uranus, Saturn, Jupiter, Mercury, Chiron are all having a conversation. But this really has to do with Scorpio, Chiron, and Saturn. Is really what this is going to come down to. This is not necessarily going to be comfortable, but within this energy is a very powerful shift, is what I'm being told from Spirit. And you're having Uranus is speaking directly with Saturn about our independence, our individuality, our uniqueness, our freedom, our self-worth, our self-value, our self-esteem, and what it is that we need to retweak within those rules, walls, and boundaries. Are they set right? Why aren't they set right? How do I change this? How do I reset this right? How do I let go of what's no longer working for me? Within these rules, walls, and boundaries, for my self-worth, my self-value, my self-esteem, for my independence, my individuality, my uniqueness, my freedom, how do I help myself set myself free? Okay? These energies are speaking with Jupiter and Mercury in Scorpio of that creative energy, which is going right back and speaking to Chiron, then jumping right back into Saturn. Like I said, you are not going to find this in an astrology chart. I am being given this from Spirit. This energy is not necessarily going to be comfortable because there's a part of us that fears changing those rules, walls, and boundaries. Okay? But we know deep within us what those rules, walls, and boundaries need to be shifted. We know when they need to be shifted. We know when they need to be retweaked. We know. I'm also being given by Spirit right now, This also has to do with the words we are speaking and how we are creating with our words. This has to do with manifestation. But I'm being given, it has to do with the breath of how it is we are expressing ourselves within that communication, because I'm being given the mouth, but I can't remember which one it is. I know when they say it to me. This has to do with Hebrew, of what we create through our mouth, how we talk. This does have to do with manifestation, but it's so much deeper. I'll have to look that up and repost it, so check back onto my page. But Chiron is the wounded healer, the gatekeeper of wholeness. He's trying to bang down the door of where we recreate in Scorpio, not in Scorpio, in Capricorn, where Saturn is, and it's saying in the community outwardly, these are what we have set, and these are where they're wrong. So these are what we need to shift and change. And then it's coming back to speak to our independence, our individuality. It's going over to the relationships of that outer community and what those communities are responsible for within our lives, and that relationship, and reevaluating all of these shifts, because the wounded healer is trying to say these are what's going to happen or you're not going to move forward. Point blank. And Saturn, which is those rules, walls, and boundaries, are being backed up by Jupiter and Mercury. But the North Node is also hanging out in this energy. Okay? And like I said, this has to do with what Spirit is giving me. The North Node is hanging out in this energy because let's remember, the North Node right now is still in Leo. And in Leo, we're talking about the lion. We're talking about the king of the jungle. Well, the king isn't just the king of the jungle. He's responsible for his kingdom. So we're talking about your life and your kingdom, honey. And being responsible for your kingdom, being the king of your own jungle, the king of your kingdom, means we are being responsible to ourselves, but to the others around us. What is it that needs to be created correctly, that's incorrect, so that we can start to move forward? But how do we also enjoy our life? How do we also find the creativity to do it and feel comfortable and fire-filled in our passion as we do it in positive ways? This is the key here. The gatekeeper of wholeness wants that North Node to move forward in a positive way. So this is those energies that are coming in. But like I said, those rules, walls, and boundaries are going to fight you a little bit, but they're going to be very clear about what needs to be happening. But we also have two T-squares sitting right on top of each other this week. Now, these are harsh energies. These are confusing. These are energies, and when I say confusing, because I'm giving you all that energy that's actually I'm being shown by Spirit, but these are where you're going to have to work a little bit to make it through these, okay? Especially with two T-squares right on top of one another. You have Venus and the Sun, which is in retrograde, speaking with Lilith in Aquarius and the North Node. So, you have Venus, your sensitivity. Point blank. I always say Venus is not love. She is your sensitivity. She talks to you about what you need to know to be sensitive enough to communicate what you want, or how you communicate it wrong, or how you feel about it wrong or emotionally. Sensitive. Basically, empath, listen up. Venus is not love. Venus will talk to you in the way of, and I say this all the time, if you put your hand in a hot ass oven of cooking cookies at 365 degrees without a pan, you're going to burn the shit out of your hand. That's Venus going, ow, don't do that shit. Venus is not all good. You've got to understand the sensitivities here. Venus is speaking with the sun, the very illumination of who you are in this creative energy of the relationships and what they're responsible for, and how we can move forward and make ourselves shine again in sensitive, positive ways, is speaking to Lilith. Lilith in Aquarius is, ain't nobody going to tell me what the hell I have to do. I will do as I damn well please. She's full on ego. Sorry, Lilith, but that's what she stands for. She is ego. She is the feminist of feminists. Ain't nobody gonna put you around. Okay? Talking to your sensitivity, but then it's talking to the North Node. So, you have your ego fighting your soulfulness of what you know you need. And that sensitivity. That right there is going to be fighting you, because you know deep down what you need here. And your head knows what it ain't going to put up with anymore. There's a problem with that connection in between. This is why we were given Induus, Jebo, and Wen for our runes. This has to do with that balance that we're being given this week. We are also having the North Node Uranus, the North Node, Uranus, which is in Taurus, and Venus. So when it goes from speaking to Lilith is the extra communication to changing it to your own independence, your individuality, your uniqueness, your freedom. Where do you feel caged? Because that cage is the key. The cage is telling you what it is that's making you uncomfortable. Where are you feeling like a rat in a cage? Like you can't get out. You can't get free. That is going to be speaking to you about what it is you need to change. Soulfully, in a positive way, not egotistically. If you just jump the gun and get all pissed off and start acting like an asshole, this ain't going to work for you. That's not soulfully healing. This is speaking to us about why do we feel like we're in a cage and how soulfully and on a higher dimension do we lift ourselves up out of it. Okay, that being said, we have sextiles this week. Saturn itself, the rules, walls, and boundaries, is trying to speak to Venus on our sensitivities and the sun. So the rules, walls, and boundaries is trying to help us see what we need to see to move forward. But are we going to do it from an egotistical point of view or a higher dimensional, soulful point of view? That is the key right there about what the changes are. Because the sextile makes it easy to make these changes and to set new rules, walls, and boundaries. Well, will you set them right? Or will you make a mistake and set them wrong all over again? That's what Venus retrograde is all about right now. Now, you also have Pluto, which is sextiling Jupiter and Mercury. Death, decay, and destruction for renewal, rebirth, and regeneration. Jupiter, the abundance, the knowledge of everything you want with the communication of how to do it outwardly. It's giving you the free pass, the thumbs up on what you need to do to go forward. It's just, are you willing? Are you willing? That's really what it is. Are you willing? Or are you still stuck in being comfortable with what's not working? Have you gotten too comfortable with the uncomfortable that it's become comfortable? That's your big question. I love you, everybody. And please, please, please listen to FXBG Public Radio for Otherland Dreams Tuesday night at 10 o'clock for me and the Hill Hippie. And I love you, and I'll be back next week. Hopefully by Tuesday. I should be in, have the video out by Tuesday next week. Like I said, I'm going on vacation. I'm going to Salem. I love you, everybody. Bye.